1 month before the wedding, a strange girl suddenly added me as a friend and said, "If you believe me, check your partner." I was full of questions and sent a, "Who are you?" The girl on the other side replied almost immediately, "I'm Zhang Ai's girlfriend." When I saw this message, my heart skipped a beat. Because Zhang Ai was the name of my fiancé, could it be? I took a deep breath and asked, "You are three, I am three." The girl on the other side replied quickly again, "You are three, I am four." Looking at this message, I was completely stunned. Zhang Ai and I had been in love for 2 years. She has always been the 24 filial boyfriend in the eyes of others. She always takes me as the priority in everything, even giving me the water for washing feet. And her mother is also very good to me. Since she moved in with us 3 months ago, she has taken care of all the housework at home, and even the taste of cooking follows my style. I can't eat spicy food, and there has never been a pepper on the table, which makes me think I met the fairy mother-in-law mentioned on the internet. But now, I look at the message sent by the strange girl on my phone and fall into deep thought. Did Zhang Ai really betray me? Not only did he find a mistress, but he also made me a mistress. Just when I was suspicious, Zhang Ai came out of the kitchen with a bowl of soup. "Wife, I stewed pigeon soup for you. Drink it while it's hot." I looked up and saw Zhang Ai still wearing a pink apron, looking like a virtuous family man. Seeing this, my mother-in-law, who was cleaning the living room, put down the broom in her hand and smiled at me flatteringly. "King, you don't know, Shout Ai has been pestering me for a whole day, asking me to teach her how to make soup." I said I would do it, but she refused and insisted on doing it herself, saying that you are too tired recently and she feels sorry for you. Zhang Ai wiped the sweat from his head and said, "Mom, these are what I should do if I can get them. King, just ask me to make soup every day. I am willing to do it." Hearing my mother-in-law say this and looking at Zhang Ai's hard work, I felt a little guilty. Just now, I easily doubted her because of a word from a strange girl. I really shouldn't have done that. While drinking the soup Zhang Ai packed, I made up my mind to delete the girl later. However, at this moment, Zhang Ai suddenly said to me apologetically, "Wife, I can't accompany you tonight. There is a problem with the project. I have to go back to work overtime." My hand holding the soup spoon paused slightly, and my heart skipped a beat. Because the last message that the strange girl sent me was, "Sister, today is my birthday. Zhang Ai will come to my place in the evening." Before I spoke, my mother-in-law on the side said first, "You child, if there is something in the company, you can go and do it. King is so sensible. Will she still get angry with you because of this?" Zhang Ai is now the manager of the purchasing department, and there are often overtime situations. In the past, I never thought much about it, but now the strange girl over there just said that Zhang Ai will go to accompany her in the evening, and Zhang Ai here told me that she has to work overtime. Could this be a coincidence? There are doubts in my heart, but they are not shown on my face. I put down the bowl of soup in my hand that obviously added too much chicken essence and pulled the corner of my mouth slightly, saying, "You go, work is important." "Thank you, wife. Wife is the best." Zhang Ai kissed me on the cheek, then picked up his coat and went out. Watching her leaving, my heart sank slightly. One afternoon, in the teacher's coffee shop, the bitter aroma lingered around. The girl sitting opposite me was wearing a blue and white sailor suit, with black hair hanging straight down her shoulders, looking like a pure college student. Seeing me sit down, the girl curved her eyes and smiled sweetly at me. "Sister King, you are here. Am I a little too familiar with him?" Looking at the girl's smiling face that can be described as brilliant, a strange emotion passed through my heart. Well, I was cold, but the girl didn't care, but told me that her name was Zhang Rou, and she was an intern under Zhang Ai. After briefly introducing herself, she opened the album on her mobile phone for me to see. At a glance, my blood froze. In the photo, Zhang Ai held Zhang Rou in his arms, but his hand reached into her private parts unscrupulously. The expression on his face could almost be described as obscene, which was very different from the gentle and polite appearance that was always in front of me. I was a little shocked and a little disgusted. Zhang Rou on the opposite side continued to click on other photos, bathrooms, stairwells, and offices, different locations, but similar themes, and the date displayed on each photo can also match the overtime date. Shank, I said. Sister King, you should believe me now, right? Zhang Rou on the opposite side blinked her big eyes and looked at me. Because I couldn't guess his purpose, I pushed the phone back to her, slightly curled her lips. Now that AI is so advanced, who knows if these photos of yours are face swapped and synthesized? Zhang Rou sighed. Sister King, you're lying. You obviously believe me. Let me guess. Had you sent someone to Zhang Ai's hometown and he was right? Ever since Zhang Rou told me that Zhang Ai had a wife who had not yet married in his hometown and even had a child, I sent someone to Zhang Ai's hometown overnight. After falling in love with Zhang Ai, I have never been to his hometown. Zhang Ai was born in a poor mountain village and was the first college student to come out of their village. During the holidays, I asked her if she needed to go back with him. He told me that the toilets in their village were all made of wooden boards. He was afraid that I would not be used to it. I have a mysophobia. I can accept other difficult conditions, but not the toilet. So I gave up the idea of going to his hometown. I used to think that Zhang Ai was considerate, but now it seems that maybe there are some surprises hidden in his hometown that I can't find. At this time, Zhang Rou suddenly asked, Sister King, Zhang Ai told you where his hometown is, Dongyuan village in my ex-city. Zhang Rou sneered. Sure enough, when I heard him say this, I knew there was something wrong. So I said, didn't Zhang Rou and Sister Q and ask your people to go to Sanhe village instead? That's Zhang Ai's hometown. After leaving the cafe, I made a phone call. The other party was Lao Zhu, a private detective I hired at a high price to go to Sanhe village. In addition, if you can bring Liu Chunfang to the nurse, I will double the price. Liu Chunfang is Zhang Ai's wife in his hometown. When Lao Zhu on the other side heard that I wanted to raise the price, he immediately responded decisively, guaranteeing that 100 people would be brought to you. Fortunately, Sanhe village is not far from Dongyuan village, so it won't take. After hanging up the phone, I didn't go home directly, but went to a nearby hotel and turned on the surveillance at home. This surveillance was installed when I just bought the house. For the sake of beauty, the camera was installed very concealed. Zhang Ai and his mother didn't know. Son, did you go to that little bitch again last night? It's not easy to get married. You must not make any mistakes. In the surveillance picture, Zhang Ai's mother was sitting on the sofa, picking the dandruff on her feet, and said to Zhang Ai, looking at the dandruff falling on the fabric sofa I carefully selected, I couldn't help but frowning. When Zhang Ai's mother just came from the countryside, her hygiene habits were very bad, and she used the water from washing mops to wipe the sink. I once told Zhang Ai tactfully, and since then Zhang Ai's mother suddenly became I thought he had changed his feelings and was just cheating on me. Just when I was feeling sick, Zhang Ai's voice came, Mom, don't worry. Zhang Ai almost had a falling out with his parents in order to marry me. How could they doubt me? Zhang Ai's mother became nervous when she heard this. If they had a falling out, could he still have his parents' money in house? Zhang, I snorted coldly. Those two old guys have only one precious daughter. Who else should they give it to if not him? Hearing this, I couldn't help but clench my fists, and I wanted to rush into the screen and tear up that hypocritical face. It turned out that the mother and son were planning to take my property. Zhang Ai's mother breathed a sigh of relief and continued, That's good, otherwise I would have worked in vain for the past few months. How can a mother-in-law serve her daughter-in-law like this? In my hometown, Chun Fang was completely obedient to me. Zhang Ai interrupted his mother. Be careful not to let anything slip in front of Zhang King. Liu Chunfang is just the daughter of the village party secretary, but Zhang King is different. The 3 houses in the city center that her parents gave her are something that Liu Chunfang's family can't afford in their lifetime. Right, let's not talk about him. Zhang Ai's mother laughed twice, and a moment later, a smug look appeared on her face again. After all, my son is so powerful that these women pounce on him one after another. Seeing this, I turned off the surveillance screen. I suddenly didn't want to solve the problem that could be solved by breaking off the engagement because it would be too easy for Zhang Ai, and she would have to pay a greater price. When I got home at 8 o'clock in the evening, the hypocritical mother and son surrounded me. Zhang, I took the bag in my hand and asked with a worried look, "Wife, why are you back so late? I called you, but you didn't answer." Just as I was sighing at her acting skills, Zhang's mother on the other side was no less impressive, and said earnestly, "King King, I made your favorite plum-stuffed shrimp tonight. You didn't come back, and Xiao Kai and I haven't had dinner yet, so we're waiting for you." I glanced at his round belly, knowing that he Zhang I should have had a feast a long time ago, and now he was just doing it for me to see. I sat down at the dining table and pretended to be unable to eat. Jiang Kai and his mother looked at each other, and then asked my wife what was wrong. I pretended to be wronged. When I went to Marriott to pay the deposit for our wedding banquet today, I ran into my father. He said that I had to swipe his secondary card to pay for the wedding banquet. It was simply shameless. Marriott is one of the top hotels for nurses. A wedding banquet costs at least 3 million. Shanghai was born in the countryside and his family was not closed, so I was planning to pay for it myself. But now Zhang, I heard me say this. His face was full of guilt. "Wife, it's all my fault. So my father-in-law looks down on me so much. I will definitely treat you twice as well in the future." The mother-in-law brought the last dish to the table inside as if it was real. "The father-in-law is really a fool. Please treat you. After all, he is his only daughter. We will all be a family in the future. Why do we have to be so clear about the family? Good guy, the tea fragrance is overflowing. It's a pity that the mother and son don't go to Westlake to Soklongjing tea. Yes, why do we have to be so clear about the family?" I put down my chopsticks and pretended to be enlightened. "Honey, why don't you pay for the deposit for Marriott? I won't use my dad's supplementary card. It's a good opportunity for him to see that you are sincere to me and I am not paying for it." But hey, Zhang choked and coughed when he heard this. After a long while, he hesitated and said, "Honey," I interrupted her directly. "Honey, you are not willing to pay for this money, right? If so, my dad will definitely be even more angry with me. Then why don't we forget about getting married?" Upon hearing this, Shanghai hurriedly said goodbye. "Honey, you know, I really want to have a family with you. I will pay for the deposit." When Zhang's mother heard that her son was going to pay, she was immediately anxious. She wanted to say something quickly, but was stopped by Zhang Ai's eyes. I pretended not to see it, unwrapped the shrimp in my hand with peace of mind. The deposit for the simplest wedding hosted by Marriott is 150,000, and if it is due to the employer's own reasons, the deposit will never be refunded. Seeing the faces of the mother and son opposite me both becoming unhappy, I sneered in my heart, "Don't worry, this money is just an appetizer. There are bigger surprises waiting for you." 2 days later, I used the excuse of going shopping with my little sister to finally let the mother and son have some time alone. In the five-star hotel closest to home, I curled up on the sofa and turned on the surveillance screen. What caught my eye was the incredulous face of Zhang's mother. "What did you say? Just hold a wedding. You paid 150,000, and that dead girl is not afraid of shortening her life." Jiang Ai's face was tense. There was nothing I could do. Forget it. Anyway, we are getting married soon. After getting the marriage certificate, at least half of his family's money will be mine. Wait for another 2 years. I will find an excuse to take her to Thailand for a trip, and then... Shanghai didn't finish his words, but only chuckled. Seeing this, I felt cold all over. It turned out that Shanghai not only wanted my money, but also my life. For a moment, my heart was full of gratitude to Zhang Ou. If it weren't for his reminder, I might still be kept in the dark by this mother and son. But now, the door of Dong Dong Hotel was knocked, and the person I was waiting for came. The plain-dressed, dark-faced woman in front of me was Liu Chunfang. Behind her was a child, about 4 years old, who looked 7 points similar to Zhang Ai. "You," Chunfang looked at me with vigilance. "Who are you?" In fact, when the nurse came from Sanhe village, Lao Zhu had already told him the basic situation, otherwise he would not have followed. I knew it well, but still explained that I was the Fiang Qi of your child's father. After that, I directly showed him the wedding photos that Zhang Kai and I had taken before, as well as the photos that Zhang Er sent to me. This girl is the lover of your child's father. Liu Chunfang's face turned pale instantly. She couldn't believe that the man she grew up with and even supported to go to college would betray her like this. Liu Chunfang said stubbornly, "You city people are so flowery. Who knows if you will lie to me?" I didn't say much, but directly dialed Zhang Ai's phone. When a familiar voice sounded on the other end of the phone, "What happened to my wife?" Liu Chunfang looked ashen. I casually said a few words to Zhang Kai, then hung up the phone and asked Liu Chunfang, "Do you believe it now?" Liu Chunfang's tears flowed down, and the child behind hers saw her mother like this and started crying. I quickly essayed the door to take the child out to play, leaving only Liu Chunfang and I in the huge hotel living room. I took a tissue and handed it to Liu Chunfang, and she cried even more miserably after taking it. From his intermittent words, I roughly understood the story between her and Zhang Ai. Zhang Ai's father died early, and he was raised by his mother alone, but Zhang Ai had a flexible mind since he was a child, and he was pretty good-looking and good at coaxing people. Liu Chunfang was the daughter of the local village party secretary, and she coaxed him into giving money and labor, and even gave birth to a child for him. After Zhang Ai was admitted to university, Liu Chunfang was very excited. After all, he was the first college student in the village, and she saved money to support him. After Zhang Ai finished college, she thought her good days were coming, but Zhang Ai seldom returned to the village after graduation. Zhang Ai told him, "Chunfang, the nurse's house is expensive, so I have to work hard. When I make money, I will definitely take you and the child over." Liu Chunfang believed it foolishly and served her mother in her hometown without complaint. But 3 months ago, Zhang's mother took advantage of her going back to her parents' home for something and ran away overnight. Since then, Liu Chunfang has never been able to contact Zhang Kai again. At this point, Liu Chunfang cried even harder. I should have guessed it long ago. He has always refused to return to the village. She didn't care about Xiaoyi's birthday. Xiaoyi is the son Liu Chunfang gave birth to Zhang Kai. After Liu Chunfang cried a stack of tissues and calmed down a little, I asked him, "Chunfang, do you want to make that person cry even more miserably?" 2 days later, at 7 o'clock in the evening, Zhang Kai just walked out of the company building and saw a woman rushing out from the side, pointing at him and scolding, "Zhang Kai, you conscienceless dog thing, how dare you lie to me?" The woman's angry and loud voice attracted the attention of the people around her. Zhang Kai was simply stunned. He didn't know how Liu Chunfang, who was far away in the countryside, could find him, but he had no time to think at this moment, because the eyes of the people around him who were trying to inquire or even watching the show made her feel embarrassed. Among them, his colleagues didn't know what would happen in the office tomorrow if it reached Zhang Qin's ears. Thinking of this, I felt a little scared, so he hurried to comfort the angry Liu Chunfang in front of him. "Chunfang, you must have misunderstood me. This is not a place to talk. Let's find a place to have a good chat." After much persuasion, Liu Chunfang finally agreed to go with him. Arriving at a private tea house 5 kilometers away from the company, Zhang Ai poured a cup of tea for Liu Chunfang and asked tentatively, "Chunfang, how did you find this place?" She wanted to coax her back first and then make plans. But Liu Chunfang directly poured the hot tea on her face. "What? You tied up a rich lady in the city, and you are about to get married. I have to bring my child to congratulate you." Zhang I didn't care about the pain on her face, but was shocked in her heart that she actually knew. But she quickly calmed down. Liu Chunfang was just a rural woman and a new nurse. She might not be able to find Zhang Qing. As long as she married Zhang Qing next month, everything would be settled. However, the next second, Liu Chunfang extinguished the last bit of luck in her heart. "Zhang Kai, the young lady on your list, is called Zhang Qing, and she is a teacher at the one middle school in the city, right?" Zhang Kai couldn't hold it anymore. He stood up instantly, his face flushed. "How did you know?" Liu Chunfang smiled. "Don't worry about how I know. I can find you and her." Zhang Gai's face became uglier and uglier. Liu Chunfang continued, "Zhang Gai, I didn't come here to force you to go back with me this time. After all, I am also a reasonable person and can't stop you from finding a better person. But I have been here for so many years. You have to give me an explanation. What? Liu Chunfang, he is so poor that he rushed to sleep with you for free, and now he wants 200,000 yuan and the ancestral house in his hometown. Is his house inlaid with gold or something? In the surveillance screen, Zhang's mother frowned and cursed, and Zhang Kai also looked irritable and pulled the tie around his neck. I didn't agree to him immediately and delayed him for 2 days, but if Zhang Qing knew about this, it would be troublesome. Seeing this, I sneered, and it was time for me to add more firewood. When I got home in the evening, the table was already peeled durian. I have always liked to eat durian. That Jiankai wanted to vomit when he smelled the smell of durian, so I seldom ate it at home. Now, my wife, see what musang ing durian I bought for you, your favorite. Zhang, I resisted the urge to vomit and smiled. I also laughed. I was not pretending. Ha, really thought he was funny. My husband was good to me. After spending a long time with this mother and son, my acting skills have also been improved qualitatively. I sat down, picked up a durian and bit it. The taste was dense, sweet and delicious. Jane's mother took a mop and mopped the floor back and forth in the restaurant several times. Finally, she couldn't hold it anymore and said casually, "Where is King King? How is Jing's father-in-law's business now? I heard that business is difficult now." I swallowed a mouthful of durian and nodded. It is quite difficult. Now there are only a few million profits left every month. Zhang's mother's eyes widened and she said in a lost voice, "Millions a month?" Yes, fortunately, my parents use their savings to manage their finances, and the returns are not bad. Together with the houses in the city center, it is enough for them to spend their old age without any burden. Hearing what I said, Zhang's mother couldn't let go of her money, and she was shaking with excitement. He exchanged glances with Zhang Kai, who pretended to be casual but actually listened with his ears perked up, as if they had made some kind of decision. A few days later, Zhang Erou shared the latest gossip about their company with me on WeChat. Sister King King's company was going crazy, saying that Zheng I had abandoned his wife in his hometown and fell in love with you, a rich lady. However, Zhang Kai's grandson has an extraordinary psychological quality. He insisted that Liu Chunfang was just a cousin of the family and came here because of some misunderstandings. TSK, 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 she is really the best of scum. Seeing his complaints, I couldn't help but burst out laughing. On the other side, Liu Chunfang has returned to Sanhe village. In order to avoid Zhang Kai from noticing anything, I asked Lao Zhu to pretend to have disappeared during the days when Liu Chunfang was a nurse. After Zhang Kai agreed to give Liu Chunfang the money in the house, I asked Lao Zhu to give him some advice. Lao Zhu is the top private detective in the industry. He often deals with the law and knows best where the boundaries of the law are. So in this regard, he can completely help Liu Chunfang avoid the risks that may exist in the future. Before Liu Chunfang left, she asked Lao Zhu to bring me a message. Zhang Qian, thank you. If you need me in the future, just ask. At the same time, the mother and son of the Zhang family and my house are dreaming of becoming rich. Zhang's mother was lying on the sofa and said proudly, "My son is still capable. He caught the big fish, Zhang Qian." Zhang, I didn't say anything, but he also showed a complacent look on his face. It's just that Liu Chunfang, the bitch, got a bargain. I don't know why this girl is so smart all of a sudden. Speaking of Liu Chunfang, Zhang's mother gritted her teeth. Zhang, I said, forget it, Mom. These are just small amounts of money. When I get them, will Zhang King still care about them? At this time, Zhang, I paid the 150,000 yuan deposit for one Hao and gave Liu Chunfang 200,000 yuan. The money he had saved over the years was almost gone. Obviously, they were all cleaner than her face, but she showed a sense of pride as if everything was in my hands. But a false dream will eventually wake up. I went back to my parents' house that day, and it had been 3 months since I last came here. Just 3 months ago, I agreed to Zhang Ai's proposal. When my father knew the news, he smashed the teacup on the table and said, "If you must marry Zhang Ai, your mother, and I will not go to your wedding." When he said this, my father was so angry that he was panting. My mother on the side quickly patted his back to calm her down, and her eyes looking at me were also full of disapproval. But at that time, I was overwhelmed by the so-called love, and I only felt that my parents despised the poor and loved the rich, and looked down on Zheng Ai's background. So I made a harsh statement saying that if you don't want to go, then don't go. Anyway, you were always absent on my birthday before, so it's not a big deal to miss my wedding. When I was a child, my parents were busy with business and often traveled all over the world. I often stayed alone in the villa in piled blocks. But when I grew up, I could understand them. It was their business that gave me a life that ordinary people could hardly have. If I were still obsessed with the company they had lost, it would be too hypocritical. I don't blame them at all, but sometimes when facing the closest people, the words that come out of your mouth are the most hurtful. Thinking of the last unpleasant parting, I was full of uneasiness before entering the door. After standing there for a few minutes, I entered the door password. It was me who didn't know people well and I said hurtful words. Even if my parents scolded me, I deserved it. Thinking of this, I walked towards the door. At this time, a familiar voice with a slightly rough voice sounded. Wife, what do you think of me wearing this suit to attend King's wedding? Don't embarrass my girl. My eyes immediately turned red and my steps stopped. I saw my father wearing a custom-made suit, showing it to my mother 360 degrees. My dad is middle-aged and has gained weight. He prefers to wear loose and casual clothes. He hates suits the most. With his current status, there is no occasion to require him to wear them. But for my disappointing daughter, she compromised. The clothes are pretty good. My mom sighed and asked King King if we had hurt her last time. It was all because we had not been able to accompany her since she was a child. My dad's expression dimmed when he heard this. I couldn't help but burst into tears. My parents were startled when they heard the noise. They turned around and saw me. Qing, Qing, you are back. What happened? Seeing me sobbing, my mom ran over and hugged me in her arms. My dad was anxious and sad. What happened to King King King? Tell Dad Dad is here. When I told my parents everything about Shanghai, they were furious. My dad took out his mobile phone and was about to contact his friends online to teach Shanghai a lesson with some not so glorious means, but I stopped him. My dad is so disappointed in me. King King, you don't still feel sorry for such a bad guy, do you? I quickly shook my head. It's not enough to beat up a person like my dad, Shanghai. He must see hope and lose everything step by step. Dad, I have already thought about how to punish such a person, but I just need your cooperation with Mom. Shanghai has been in a very good mood recently. Even if there are bad rumors about her in the company, she doesn't care. He even doesn't find Zhang or OU alone event recently. Just indulge blindly in the beautiful dream of crossing the class. But when she returned home, she met me crying on Zhang's mother with an embarrassed face. She was stunned. What happened to King King's mother? Before Zhang's mother could speak, I rushed up and hugged her. Husband, what should I do? My parents. Their business is problems and they lost more than 200 million. Now I have nothing. Shanghai's body was obviously stiff. He slowly pushed me away and asked, King King, didn't you say that your family still has financial management in the house in the city center? How can I have nothing? I cried even harder when I heard that. My mother is pregnant. My parents said that instead of raising a daughter like me, who is so stubborn, it would be better to use the remaining resources to train a son. They said that if I marry you, they will put the house I live in up for sale. Zhang Ai's face was livid. What you said is true. Ooh, of course it's true. My dad has stopped all my secondary cards. Husband, I only have you. I was holding back my nausea while acting. Zhang's mother was so angry that she didn't even want to pretend. What's the point of crying? But Zhang stopped her. He winked at Zhang's mother and said, Mom, King King is just upset. Don't blame him. Sure enough, as a scumbag who specializes in sucking blood, his skills are obviously deeper. After he didn't confirm the residual value of his prey, he could continue to act in human skin. The next day, Zhang's mother disguised herself and prepared to go to the community where my parents lived to find out the truth. But my parents live in the top villa area in Shanghai. The security guy has excellent professional quality and can identify malicious people at a glance. Zhang's mother didn't even touch the door of the community. But I know that he will not give up. So, at this moment, a black Maybach slowly drove out of the gate of the community. Zhang's mother quickly stopped her taxi and followed it. Young man, you should catch up with the car in front. The driver wearing a mask did not speak, but nodded. Zhang's mother had no knowledge and did not think deeply. How could there be a taxi in such a place? It was just an artificial arrangement. When the Maybach slowly stopped at a high-end confinement club, Zhang's mother saw her father-in-law get out of the car and open the door from the other side. When she got out of the car with her mother-in-law holding her belly slightly, her heart sank. It seems that what Zhang Ping said was true. The next moment, as if to confirm his guess, the voices of the two people not far away also came over. Husband, why do we have to come to the confinement center? Can't we just hire a few more nannies at home? This confinement center is different. You will know when you come to see it. How could I let my eldest son down? Yes, that's right. I saw with my own eyes that she was pregnant with a son. Now it is definitely not Zhang Pin's turn to get their money in-house. In the surveillance footage, Zhang's mother was stomping her feet in anger while calling Zhang Kai. It is unknown what the other party said. Zhang's mother's face became worse. His family actually paid so much compensation. Do you still want to get married? Didn't you say that you have a female leader who is also a nurse, a local, and her family is very rich? She usually cares about you a lot. Zhang Kai on the other side said something else, and Zhang's mother nodded and said, anyway, you make the decision. The older you are, the more you will care about people when you are older. Good man, I almost spit out a mouthful of water when I saw this. This is a blood-sucking addiction. When I got home, Zhang's mother did not greet me as usual, but was shaking her legs and eating melon seeds on the sofa. When she saw me come in, she just raised her eyelids and didn't say anything. I looked at the cold plate of fried dried tofu with peppers on the table and frowned. Why is there so much pepper in this dish? Zhang's mother spit out the melon seed shells in her mouth and said coldly, the family is going bankrupt and your parents don't recognize you anymore, so don't put on airs in front of me. Seeing that the old woman had returned to her original appearance, I didn't pretend. I rolled up my sleeves and rushed over, grabbed his neck and dragged him to the door. Am I giving you too much face? You live in my house. Just get out of here if you talk to me. Zhang's mother didn't expect that I, who was always gentle, would be so strong in my hands when I got angry. He was stunned. And when he reacted and wanted to struggle, I had already thrown him out of the door. I slammed the door shut and Zhang's mother screamed outside, you little beast, you dare to do this to me. I will never forgive you when my son comes back. After thinking about it, I opened the door again. Seeing this, Zhang's mother showed a smug look on her face. How about it, scared? The next second, I handed the cold plate of fried dried tofu with chili to him and then closed the door again. Zhang's mother at the door screamed miserably, and the swear words were endless. I picked my ears. Fortunately, my house is 1 floor per household. Otherwise, it would be bad to disturb the neighbors. When Zhang Kai came back, he saw the scene. The mother with reed soup hanging on her body squatted at the door with a hoarse voice. When Zhang's mother saw her precious son, she was just like that, my son. My life is so hard. Seeing this, Zhang Kai opened the door angrily and wanted to settle the score with me, but I threw a glass at him. When Zhang, I first brought your mother here, you said he was here to cook for us. But now that there is a problem at my house, Kai Li immediately puts chili peppers on the table and dares to mock me. Zhang Kai heard me say this and retorted, you can't kick my mother out, why not? This is my house. Not to mention your mother, I can kick you out too. Hearing what I said, Zhang Kai's face flushed. He wanted to be tough and move out with his mother, but the balance in his card did not allow it. So he had to be humble and try to smooth things over between his mother and me. In the next few days, Zhang Kai would come home every day to see a smoky house, and my mother and I were fighting each other. Zhang Kai was recently in charge of the bidding for an important project of the company. He was already very busy, but when he got home, his head hurt even more and he smoked more and more. Finally, at midnight, he secretly went to the balcony and made a phone call. Mr. Zhao, the reserve price for this bidding is this number. Please fulfill your promise to me as soon as possible. A company may allow its employees to have romantic scandals, but it will never allow them to infringe upon the fundamental interests of the company. Zhang Er, oh, you once asked me the situation, sister. Are you sure he will go that far? I smiled slightly. Of course, I'm sure. Can a person with such low morals be expected to have any ethics in the workplace? 3 days later, Zhang Ping, let's separate. Zhang Kai said coldly, you have been making trouble more and more unreasonably recently, and I can't stand you anymore. Zhang's mother was looking at me with squinting eyes, her expression full of disdain. I didn't say much nonsense, but pulled out a bill. You have been eating and living for free in the past 2 years. Please give it to me. Zhang saw that I didn't pester him to stay, but asked him for money instead, and he was immediately angry. Zhang Ping, I didn't expect you to be such a snobbish woman. It's really funny. You are a scumbag and you are judging me morally. Don't talk nonsense. Give them money and write repayment in the remark. Seeing me like this, Zhang sneered, took out his mobile phone and transferred the money to me. Anyway, he has money now. He doesn't have to swallow his anger anymore. I looked at the amount on the bill and said, get lost. Zhang's mother picked up the worn-out suitcase at her feet and cursed. What are you showing off for? Do you think you are some kind of lady? Bah, son, let's go. Then she walked out arrogantly. Zhang, I said something cruel to me before leaving. I'll wait for the day when you beg me. Unfortunately, he didn't make it until the next day when he went to the company. Everyone looked at him strangely and even whispered in front of him. At first, he thought these people were still discussing her relationship with Yu Chunfang, so she didn't take it too hard. Anyway, the big boss of the company is having fun himself and doesn't care about the personal problems of employees at all. It wasn't until the female leader, who was always kind to him, asked him to go to a meeting with a cold face that she felt something was wrong. He followed the female leader nervously. The door of the conference room opened, and he saw that most of the company's senior executives were there, and even the big boss, who didn't usually show up, came to see him come in, and everyone's eyes fell on her. The big boss didn't say anything, but his face was slightly gloomy. The HR director on his right directly took out a document and said to Shanghai, because you've leaked the company's bidding-based price and privately accepted bribes from suppliers, our company has decided to terminate your labor contract and will pursue your legal responsibilities in accordance with the law. It was as if a thunderbolt struck Shanghai's head, and her face turned pale. Sister King, Shanghai's grandson, was so scared that he collapsed, and it was the security guards who came to carry him away. Zhang, oh, you happily recounted Shanghai's miserable situation to me. I smiled while fiddling with the lishness in my hand, saying that he had been busy for so many years, and he had lost his job and money. He didn't even know where to sleep tonight. He must be scared to death. He deserved it. The company has already reported his situation. He will definitely not be able to make it in the nursing industry. Zhang Rou was quite relieved, and after a while reminded me, Sister King, be careful, he will come to you again. Don't worry, my dad hired two bodyguards for me. If he dares to come and pester me, my people will beat his head around. Shanghai is even more timid than I thought. The next day, after get off work, he knelt straight at the door of my house. When he saw me, he confessed and cried, King, considering our relationship for so many years, can you take me in for a few days? I'm really desperate. As he said that, his knees moved frantically on the ground, trying to grab the corner of my clothes and try to deprive me of my sympathy. But he was held aside by the bodyguard behind me. If you dare to touch the corner of the young lady's clothes, don't blame us for being rude. Zhang, I was stunned. Young lady, is it your family bankrupt? I leaned over and looked at him. This is not a problem you should consider. Didn't you say you would wait for the day I'd beg you? Why did you become more expensive first? You said it so hard at the beginning, but it's only been a few days and you're so soft. At this time, Shanghai's mother came out from nowhere and knelt down with a plop. King, it's all my fault. It's all my fault for being blind. If you can forgive Shanghai, you can let me die. While wiping away tears, she secretly glanced at my reaction from the corner of her eyes. Wow, this mother and son are really amazing. I clapped my hands. If you want to die, that's your business. Just don't die at my doorstep. After saying that, I waved to the bodyguards. Two sturdy bodyguards in black each picked up one and threw the mother and son out like a frisbee. I contacted the real estate agent and prepared to sell the house. I felt sick when I thought that I lived under the same roof with this mother and son. Since the house was in a good location, it was sold soon after it was listed. On the other hand, Shankai's mother actually went to the door of Marriott to hang a banner and asked them to return the deposit for the wedding banquet. She went there every day, more punctual than punching in at work. As a result, one day on the way there, I don't know if she was in a hurry, she crossed the road directly and broke her leg. Jiang Gai's job search was also very difficult. The industry circle he was in was small. His peers basically knew that he leaked company secrets and accepted bribes, so no company would want him. So when he could hardly afford to eat, he took his lame mother back to his hometown. His mother collapsed on a cane, and her feces and urine made a sound, and the stink could be smelled 3 miles away. But Zhang Ai, that bastard, pretended not to see me and licked his face to tell me that he would take care of Xiaowei with me. Hao Chunfang's refreshing voice came through the phone, and I clicked my tongue twice. How shameless. Is now Surnam Liu like me? What does it have to do with him? Liu Chunfang snorted coldly and then said, King, I will talk to you later. I will start broadcasting soon. After Liu Chunfang returned from being a nurse, he started to tinker with live broadcasting, mainly selling agricultural products. In his words, big cities have everything good, but the food is not as healthy as in the village. Liu Chunfang has a very good sense of the internet. Even if others say the same thing, the effect is not as good as hers. In less than half a year, she has become a small internet celebrity with 100,000 fans. Thinking of this, I clicked on her live broadcast room and gave her 3 dream castles. Zhang Rou also resigned from her previous company. She took the IELTS, applied to a school in the United States, and finally got the offer successfully. On the day she went abroad, I brought a big bouquet of sunflowers to the airport for her. Zhang Rou took it with a smile, her eyes shining, and said, Thank you, Sister King. Thinking of the opportunity for us to meet, I should actually thank him. Zhang Rou always gives me a sense of déjà vu, especially when she smiles. But this thought only flashed through my mind. After all, if I have seen a beauty like her, I can't help but remember her. You're welcome. If you encounter any problems over there, remember to contact me. Zhang Rou nodded and then took out a sunflower from the bouquet. Sister King, just put this one on the table in your office, okay? In the teacher's office of no. One middle school, I was lowering my head to correct holiday homework, and suddenly a head popped up. Teacher Zhang, do you have a boyfriend? If not, do you want to meet my uncle? I'll be very handsome. The person who spoke was none other than Cheng Zahan, the most naughty and lively person in the class. Seeing him blinking expectantly, I smiled and took out the homework that was placed aside. We'll talk about your uncle later. Cheng Zahan, please tell me why the holiday homework book you handed in is half as thin as others. Cheng Zahan, Teacher Zhang, I suddenly remembered that the math teacher came to me and wanted to run away, but I grabbed him back and stuffed him with the new holiday homework. Cheng Zahan, please redo the torn half of the homework and hand it to me next week. Otherwise, I will not see your uncle but your parents. Cheng Zihan wailed with the brand new homework book in his hand. No, the steps of leaving staggered, and I couldn't help laughing. The orange light of the sunset fell lightly on my hand through the window, and there was a sunflower in the glass vase on the table that was blooming. At this moment, I felt that everything was clear. Extra, before Zhang Rou was 18 years old, I was not called Zhang Rou, but Zhang Zaihucha, who was born and raised in the mountains. My mother died of complications during childbirth when she gave birth to my 5th child, leaving behind a father who would beat me at every turn. When I was 14, a group of college students came to the village to teach. After I finished all the work at home, I secretly went to the school to see the village school. It was called a school, but in fact, it was just 2 bungalows. But even so, I had to pay 200 yuan on a year to go. Not to mention that my family didn't have the money. Even if they had it, my father wouldn't let me go. In the small bungalow, The new volunteer teacher was leading everyone to recite the softest thing in the world, galloping over the hardest thing in the world, and entering the void without any. I know that inaction is beneficial. His voice was like spring water flowing through the mountains, sweet and pleasant. I squatted skillfully under the shaky window to eavesdrop, but was attracted by the sound, so I stood up and wanted to take a look at the owner of the voice. Unexpectedly, the person by the window just pushed the window open, and with a bang, my head suddenly bulged. The student who opened the window stuck his head out, saw that it was me, and turned back to say to the others, Zhang Hucha, you are here to eavesdrop on our class again. Shameless, so embarrassing. The whole classroom burst into laughter. At this time, a young girl in a blue dress and a ponytail came out. Classmate, are you okay? Are you dizzy? She looked worried and wanted to help me up, but my insignificant self-esteem suddenly got in the way, and I slapped her hand and ran away. The next day, on my way back from mowing the grass, I met this girl again. She seemed to be waiting for me on purpose and handed me a bottle of ointment. Zhang Hucha, this ointment can quickly reduce the swelling on your head. Remember to apply it. I looked at her hesitantly and didn't reach out, but she stuffed it directly into the backpack behind me unleft. Since then, I always go to step on the best flowers blooming on the roadside early in the morning, and then secretly put them on his podium before he teaches. The girl's name is Zhang King, and she is one of the college students who came to the village to teach this time. The children in the class like her the most because she is gentle and interesting, and she doesn't have the airs of a city person at all. It's a pity that his teaching time was not long. 1 month later, I met him again on the small road in the evening. He was still wearing a blue dress and smiled at me in the afterglow of the sunset. Zhang Hucha, thank you for the flowers you gave me this month. I like them very much. Zhang Ping told me that he had paid my tuition to the school and I could go anytime I wanted to study. Before leaving, he also stuffed me with 2,000 yuan and a note with his mobile phone number. Zhang Hucha, you must work hard to see the outside world. If you encounter any trouble, you can find me by calling this mobile phone number. From then on, I spent all the time after doing farm work to study hard. My dad beat me even harder because of this. You are a cheap bastard with a wild heart. You just wait for me to get married. I will definitely get out of this mountain. I have looked at that note many nights and said to myself that Erya, who is the closest to me in the village, was sold by her father to Sanhe village, 2 mountains away, in exchange for a pig and 500 yuan. My father was also tempted when he heard about it, so he went to Sanhe village overnight to find a suitable buyer. But he was unlucky and fell off the mountain without a trace. I had no sadness for my father's death and even felt a little fortunate. The villagers secretly said that I was a Death Star, but I never took it to heart, but continued to study madly. Finally, I was admitted to the university in the city where Sister King was. The villagers saw that I really became the first college student in the village. No longer said that I was a Death Star, but praised me as Wen Kuxing in the world. When I arrived at the nursery, I found that the Wen Kuxing, who was regarded as the glory of the whole village, was just an ordinary second-class student here. I have imagined countless times that when I appear in front of Sister King again, I must look promising. In this way, I can tell him that the girl in the village has come to where she is now because of our words. However, there are a few fairy tales of counterattack in reality. I have ordinary qualifications and I am working hard, but it seems that this is the only way. So I looked at the note with a phone number and thought, let's wait a little longer. I was about to graduate, and this year was the most difficult year for employment. I sent many resumes, but none of them came back. However, when I was interviewing at H Company, I beat the students who graduated from a big university and got the offer. H Company is a leading company in the industry. Not only is the salary and bonus generous, but if you can intern here, even if you can't get a permanent job in the end, it can also gild your resume. I heard that my direct superior, Zhang, directly selected me. At that time, I naively thought that it might be that my ability in some aspects just met the job requirements, but later Zhang told me, "Shower you, because you are beautiful enough, and you and I both came from a small mountain village in X city. We are the same kind of people." Shankai proposed that I be his lover as a condition he would help me get a permanent job smoothly. Shankai has a family and a very good fiancé. He said that he often felt breathless in front of that woman. Hearing this, I felt a little upset. It was ridiculous that I wanted to be a gigolo, but couldn't let noble self-esteem. But I didn't show it because I really needed this opportunity from Company H. I took the note with the phone number from the back of the phone case and locked it in the drawer. Once after Zhang vented his anger on me, his fiancé called. Zhang hurriedly answered the phone and motioned me to be quiet. I laughed sarcastically in my heart, but still pretended to be obedient on the surface. But the next second, a familiar voice came from the receiver, which made me tremble. It's incredible to say that some people's voices can be clearly recognized even after 8 years, as if this voice has been engraved in your mind. Shankai was hurriedly putting on his clothes while saying to the other end of the phone, King, I'm working overtime tonight. You don't have to wait for me to go to bed first." Hearing this, my stomach suddenly churned, and I couldn't help but lie on the side of the bed and door etched. Shankai glanced at me, then slammed the door and left without looking back. I leaned against the head of the bed and relaxed for a long time, feeling that this was just one of the so-called tricks of fate. I always wanted to wait for the best time, but ended up on the worst path. Thinking that Sister King was going to tension man next month, I opened the locked drawer again, took out the piece of paper with the phone number, and with trembling hands, I entered the numbers by heart into the 10 minutes later, the avatar with the little sun on top accepted my friend request. So the words that I had been brewing in my heart for a long time finally turned into a sentence. If you believe in me, check your boyfriend. Sister QN, if possible, let me take you across this swamp this time. I just hope that you won't recognize me when you see me. I don't want to let you down. The full text is over. Thank you for watching.